What does it even mean to wake up? It really doesn't need to sound so pretentious. And I hate it when people make it sound like that because it can be explained scientifically. The spiritual waking of a person is caused by changes to our DNA. It's as simple as that. Specifically, those genes that govern our access to multidimensional perception. The spiritual realm is already here. We are living within it already. Most of us just can't perceive it though, because those genes that allow us to have this perception are dormant. For many years, it was believed that we have junk DNA. This has been disproven, and we understand now that we just don't understand what it is. I'm here to tell you that this DNA is for higher awareness. I'm not a geneticist, but based on the research I've done, this fact is pretty obvious to me. Even though our scientific community generally denies the existence of a spiritual component to life, it's still there. When the DNA turns on, wakes up, becomes activated, it boosts our regular perception. It enhances the way we interact with and read cues in our environment, giving us access to higher dimensional thought, abilities, and behaviors. These are our psychic abilities. This includes what is usually called the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance. That's clear seeing, clear hearing, and clear knowing. There are more clairs than just those three, but those are commonly known. Some psychic abilities that can turn on are precognition, prophetic dreaming, telepathy, channeling, animal and plant communication, telekinesis, electrokinesis, savant syndrome, mediumship. That's when we communicate with dead people or ancestors. But this also includes communicating with interdimensional beings, angels, as well as other aspects of self in other timelines, in other aspects of other people in their other timelines. When you get into quantum physics, it gets pretty trippy. There are so many cool things that humans are able to do that we once knew how to do. We're just taught that this stuff is fantasy, that the wizards and sorcerers and oracles of old are just folklore and mythology. This belief blocks our access to these abilities because what we believe becomes true. In very ancient times, when we widely believed in magic and superstitions and miracles, it made these things possible. These things happened in their realities. That's why when you read a lot of the older like the ancient texts, they were having what to us seems like a fabricated interaction with divine beings and prophetic thought and downloads from the universe. But that was the norm at this time. People believed it was possible, and so it was. Our perception becomes reality. And this, by far, is humanity's greatest superpower, creation. We're not all born with the same genetic makeup, though, obviously. So the spiritual gifts that each person is going to have are going to be different. But we are all born. We are all boring. We are all born with the genetic potential for awakening our multidimensionality. No one is a special unicorn. It's just a matter of whether or not we will turn these genes on and then learn how to use them. And how are these genes turned on, you ask? For me, it was extremely abrupt and was caused by traveling to an energy portal in Scotland. Many people have spontaneous awakenings, and they're not all caused by energy vortexes. Some people just wake up while they're cooking dinner or like petting their dog. It's a decision that our soul makes about when it wants and even if it wants. Some people don't actually wake up to experience awakening. But more commonly, and I really hate to say this, pain is the great awakener, or it's supposed to be anyway. Many people fall prey to bitterness and resenting life for happening to them, instead of understanding that it's happening for them, even the really, really painful things, because Earth is a school, not a prison. I mean, it can be a prison in a lot of ways, and in my future videos, I'll get into those theories and stuff, but souls wanted to come here to learn. That's what this was for. A lot of people experience spiritual awakening after traumatic experiences or due to extreme emotional pressure of some sort, because It forces you out of your comfort zone. It's like a disruptor, an energy disruptor that forces you inward, because in order to heal from these experiences, you have to go inside of self, and that creates alignment. Others wake up gradually as a result of consciously choosing to become more aligned. There's that word again, alignment, because this is really all that's needed. Enough alignment within the body to trigger DNA activation, merging our polarities into one. Our right and our left hemispheres come into balance. Our masculine and our feminine energies are expressed equally. Our light and our dark parts of self are integrated and honored instead of shamed and hidden. They work together. We are soft, yet also strong when needed. We are unconditionally loving, but with boundaries. We choose integrity and honesty over personal gain, etc. Shadow work, the importance of which I cannot express enough, and definitely a meditation practice. These are fast tracks to alignment. If we are consciously choosing alignment, the awakening process is a lot less painful, or sometimes completely not painful at all. Like, these things can be easy. We choose, both prior to incarnating and also in this life, through our belief systems, how this is going to go. But usually, if we're consciously choosing to get ourselves into alignment, the universe doesn't have to force us to grow. I learned this the hard way. It wasn't until a year ago that I felt confident enough to come out of the spiritual closet. So naturally, most people around me were like, you talk to the who and the what now? They thought, and they probably do still think, that my YouTube channel and my beliefs and the way that I carry myself now is some sort of facade, when in reality, the old me was the facade that I was keeping up so that I could hide the person that I have been. But this is shadow work, peeling off the pretend layers of self until we get to the bottom of who we are at our core. And a lot of times we don't even really know that we're pretending. I was having these experiences, these profound spiritual experiences, and I didn't tell people, not just because I was afraid of being viewed as a weirdo, but because I knew that people couldn't hear me. They couldn't understand what I was experiencing. There was a version of me that they needed me to be, and if I started straying from that and I started talking differently or acting differently or being interested in things that they didn't think I was interested in, they would subconsciously shut the conversation down. It wasn't just that I was hiding on purpose. A lot of it was that I didn't know how to be me because I hadn't been me for so long. So with shadow work, it really does take a lot of work to identify the parts of yourself that aren't real, because they have to be dug up. You have to dig up the fake. No, you have to dig up the real. Early on in my shadow work journey, after I got through the initial shock of remembering traumatic childhood experiences, spirit began to gently guide me back to my roots. So remembering and processing acute childhood experiences was required for me to start regrowing these roots, because unprocessed trauma creates energetic blockages and distorts spiritual information. Unless we look at the painful experiences that we've had in our lives and we allow ourselves to fully process these emotions, and we also look at the ways our belief systems have been tainted by these experiences, it's going to be impossible for us to properly grow spiritually. So we'll grow, right? But we'll be like a tomato that grows all misshapen. If you want to grow into a full, round, red, juicy, delicious tomato, you have to address your shadows. The spirit wanted me to push through these blockages so I could start remembering the ways of living and interacting with nature that is natural to me, my true nature. This true nature is going to be different for everybody. For me, it's connecting with the elements, energies, magic, and a lot of wisdom. Kind of like Odin, honestly. I have some really cool experiences with Odin. There was a phase of my spiritual awakening where he really assisted me through it, because wisdom and cosmic knowledge is a huge part of my mission on this planet. So I began delving into William Henry's work, especially his show called Ascension Keepers on the Gaia channel, which is about ancient esoteric orders that preserved the secrets of spiritual evolution, which is obviously directly related to physical evolution too, because all the different dimensions of self are connected. Scientific topics paired with quantum physics, paired with spirituality and ascension and ancient history. That's like a full course meal for me. Spirit guided me to this TV series, and initially I had no idea what William Henry was talking about, but he referred to the rainbow light body a lot, which I resonated really deeply with, even though I didn't understand why at the time. Pay attention to what you're naturally attracted to, because this is your intuition talking. Years later, I realized that the rainbow light body is a reference to diamond light, which is a reference to Christ consciousness, and also is related to the Tibetan Vajra, which represents luminous clarity and the indestructible nature of spiritual power and wisdom. Diamonds are my absolute favorite crystal, even more so than clear quartz. And it's not because they're expensive. It's because of the light that they carry. It represents people that are bringing light to the planet. Diamonds are the hardest naturally occurring material on Earth.